Hey guys, how's it going? This is Michael, and welcome to Dweeb Culture's review of Hawkeye, the first two episodes on Disney Plus. The first two episodes are Never Meet Your Heroes and Hide and Seek. Joining me, as always, are my hosts, Mitch.
Well, as always, Mitch, and then as sometimes
Cole.
Cole.
What's up, guys? What do you mean
As most
sometimes? I'm here all the time. I don't know what you're talking about.
Excuse me. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. We are starting a new series. It is Hawkeye, Disney. Now, we've been waiting for this one for a while. We are excited that 2 episodes got released upon launch. Not just the one that I was thinking it was going to be. And we're going to dive into it. So warning, this is full spoilers.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And that they're an hour long, too. I like that already.
Yes.
They are an hour long, and they are really, really good so far.
That advisement has been given out. If you've not seen it yet, pause this, watch it, return back.
Yes. Okay, anyway, we are joining Hawkeye. The story begins in 2012 when the Avengers assembled for the very first time in New York City to fight the...
So let me interrupt real quick.
Oh, go ahead.
Because I'm really glad that you are doing the review of the episodes. We've kind of skipped that for a couple of our past reviews and kind of just talking about it and what we liked about it. But it's really important, I think, to include the reviews of this because this scene right here alters canon. It's a retcon. This takes place, the 2012 scene takes place in New York City during the invasion by it starts with a T. What are they called?
It's on the tip of my tongue. The
aliens?
Tyrian or...
Whatever, the aliens...
Chikari.
Yeah, Chikari. Tatari.
If you remember, they said in the Avengers movie, they give the advisement that the downtown has been evacuated already, and then the attack happens there. But apparently not, because the very basis for Kate Bishop's character starts with the fact that they got zero heads up that there was an alien invasion coming. Therefore, they're not evacuated. Therefore, the father gets killed. And
I mean, you could just
keep in mind this is the rich elite that doesn't listen to any evacuation orders.
They didn't know, dude. They didn't know.
Well, no, they didn't know. You're right, but I feel like you can write that off with just this house or this neighborhood got overlooked, or I mean, because they had minutes. They had not a long time to evacuate the city, so you're not going to evacuate.
I'm just saying
3 million people in.
I'm just saying in the movie. They made a special point to be like, hey, guys, before we destroy these buildings, it's cool. They're evacuated. And now they're saying,
no.
JK,
I'm going to challenge you on this. We know they were not evacuated because the Tatari took hostages inside of that building that was down in the center that Captain America had to go save. So the Tatari took hostages. So we know that the entire city wasn't completely... I thought it was Tatari. I don't know. I'll look it up. But in any case...
Let's forget Hawkeye. Let's rewatch Avengers.
In any case, we know that it was not evacuated because they took hostages.
You're both right.
You're talking about the one scene with...
Well, you're talking about...
Captain America, correct?
Yes. The scene with Captain America. In any case, we got to get moving on. We can't be hung up on this one. But I think it's completely fine. I think they evacuated as much as they possibly could before the alien attack, which they only had minutes to actually do. So I'm completely fine with buying into this universe that they didn't get every single person out. All right, so moving on from that. So that was the beginning of the show. Chitauri. Okay, so it was a mixture between both of ours. It wasn't the Chitauri and it wasn't the Tatari. It was the Chitauri. Okay. In any case, so this scene, the original Avengers 2012, sets the stage for this, what is going to be the Hawkeye series. In this world, we see it from the point of view of Kate Bishop and her family. A little bit of a note there. The alliteration between Kate Bishop and Clint Barton. I feel like they could have been a little bit more creative with their naming schemes, but Kate Bishop, Clint Barton, I mean, same type of thing going on there. But in any case, yeah, I kind of picked that up. I'm like, wait a second, her last name's Bishop, and okay. In any case,
You mean it's both a cuss sound and a buzz sound, and that bothers you?
Yes, it does. It's
Okay.
it's a little lazy. I think it's a little lazy. But in any case, we so this sets the stage obviously for the entire movie. That was the backdrop. All this stuff happened and she felt scared. She felt alone. Her father died. And she said, what's gonna happen if this, if they come back? And then the mom's like, okay, I'll protect you. And then she's like, that's not good enough for me. So she trained herself. Growing up, she trained herself in archery. She trained herself in fencing. She trained herself in gymnastics. And there was a fourth one that I wrote down, and also in fencing.
Martial arts.
Fencing, yeah, and martial
she got
arts.
a front row seat to Hawkeye being a badass. So.
Yes, she did. She saw Hawkeye, and that was kind of the inspiration for her picking up a bow and arrow. I would have liked her see her in also her training if she's really doing it for perfection and whatnot. I think it would have been cool to not only show her as an archer, but also a competition shooter, so she could have a dead shot with a gun, because that's probably going to come up at some point. She's probably going to need to shoot somebody, is my guess.
Usually I don't have an issue with this sort of thing. I watch a lot of movies that have the same actor, and I can usually put aside that they've acted in another role and just kind of believe them in this role that they're fulfilling. With this show, I'm having a really hard time seeing Kate Bishop as Kate Bishop, because I'm used to seeing her in Pitch Perfect 2. She's the actress. Yeah, she's the one that sings that Flashlight Jessie J song 100 times in Pitch Perfect 2, and for whatever reason,
she's the new recruit.
Yeah, for whatever reason, I'm usually good at separating this, and in this show, every time I see her, I'm like, don't start singing that song.
It didn't really bother me that much. But in any case, let's yada yada yada. Fast forward. We see. We're going to present day. She's a troubled youth, a little bit, right? Not really troubled, but she's getting toward the end of her college career.
Rich, successful, and a star Olympic winning archer. I don't know about troubled.
Well, she's
knocking down.
I mean, she can be a troublemaker. She likes to get in. She likes to put herself into dangerous situations, maybe, or kind of like she doesn't really like to toe the straight line.
They've made it very clear that she's an eavesdropper.
Yes, they've made several references to the fact that she's a good eavesdropper.
Yeah,
but she's also not afraid to get into trouble. Like she's like to Hawkeye later on. Some light B&E, no big whoop,
Sure. So she destroys the bell tower, and then we fast forward and we kind of get a fun little scene. Well, not fun. Actually, it was kind of a heart-wrenching scene, really, of Hawkeye inside the musical. And he sees Black Widow, Natasha, or Natalie? Natasha?
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Natasha Romanoff. Yeah,
Natasha Romanoff. Why did I think Natalie? Who's Natalie in that universe?
Because Natasha's the Russian version of Natalie. That's why.
Oh, okay, sure. In any case, so we kind of get a little bit of fun, and we see that, true to form and true to character of his past ideas and what he wanted to do in previous Avengers movies, he wants to just be a father. He wants to just be a normal guy. He wants to retire. He's done with it. He's over it. He doesn't want to be there anymore. And so he's constantly getting reminded whether, he goes out to a restaurant with his family and they want to pick up the bill. The restaurant wants to pick up the bill for him because he's an Avenger. We see he kind of gives a look after that. People come up to him and want to take pictures. He's kind of over it. He just wants to live his normal life, and his normal life is not going to be normal because he keeps getting himself into places.
And some things
go ahead, Cole. I'm sorry.
All right. Just a little thing to note. Also, it shows us him with a hearing aid.
Yeah.
And at first you're like, all right, is this some Hawkeye tech he's got going? But no, it's a legit hearing aid, which needs to hear.
He's been exploded enough times.
Yeah.
Which is a funny. It was funny. He was like, it's hard to pin it down.
No, so I got kind of a different take from what you're bringing up, Michael. It does seem that, in this specific incident, he wants to hang out with his family, but they have a conversation between him and Kate Bishop where they discuss his image and why he's not one of the more popular Avengers.
Sure.
And he acts very much like, oh, I don't care, that's all fine. But when we kind of see at the end of episode 2 with the LARPing thing, which we'll get to in a little while, he sees himself kind of as a normal dude, and he's actually pretty cool with just interacting with people and talking to people and being social, and that he gets that guy who there was a very comical when they did the LARPing battle scene and all of that. But at the end, right, this guy that just made him go through this whole thing and made him take a longer away from his family when he's trying to recover the suit, says, "Hey, but you had fun, right?" He goes, yeah, it was cool. It like pounded. Yeah. He says, just call me Clint, man. Oh, hey, I'm Griff. I'm Griff. Oh, nice to meet you, Griff. Have a happy holiday.
So what part are you disagreeing with then, though? Because that's the whole thing, is he wants to be a normal person. He doesn't want to be associated with the Avengers.
Like he wants to be left alone, and I didn't get the
interpretation. Not necessarily left alone, just normal. I meant he wants to leave. He wants to be left alone as Hawkeye. He wants to be his own person, his own regular father, his own regular role in the world. He doesn't really care for the Hawkeye Avengers Association that much anymore. He just wants to retire and live a happy, normal life.
But I didn't get that, because it didn't seem like he's being recognized as Hawkeye everywhere, and that's bothering him. Some people are recognizing him as Hawkeye. He was saying with Kate Bishop, like, I don't care. I don't care if I'm not the most popular one. But
that's what I think what's cool about Hawkeye.
They played it in a way like maybe he does a little bit. They played it in a way like maybe he does care.
Man, I'm picking up something completely different.
He's a secret agent. He views it as a job and nothing more. And the fact that the fame came, along, is like,
I got the feeling he doesn't really care for the fame very much, especially at that. I mean, I think that restaurant scene says it all, where they were excited to pick up the tab for him because he's an Avenger, and then he goes. And then he looks at them like, kind of like, are you kidding me? Like, no, I can pay for this.
No, I didn't get that at all. He says, no, that's not necessary. And when he's thanked, hey, you saved this city, and shakes hands, he gets kind of that, oh, it's nice to be appreciated feel from it. He doesn't hate it from that.
Definitely
not.
Dude,
you need to watch it again, man.
You need to watch it again.
I think you guys are going on both far extremes. I think he just feels a little uncomfortable with the attention, but he's a people pleaser. He's a friendly guy,
Sure.
Also, you saved this city. He saved half of the universe's existence. That's a little bit more than you saved this city.
Well, okay. And to be fair to that point, he helped to save half the universe's existence.
Well, he helped to save the city. He didn't have enough arrows for every Chitauri.
All right. So I just wanted to call one. I think the funniest scene I've saw in the first two movies, or in the first two episodes, was when he's in the bathroom, going to the bathroom, and that guy comes in, and he goes to the whole thing is open, and he goes to the stall right next to him. Before he even says it, he just looks at him and is like, "Are you kidding me?" That was the funniest look in the world. It was hilarious because
not the appropriate time,
super relatable because I'm sure everybody's been in the bathroom with a bunch of open urinals and somebody just comes stands right next to you. Yeah. Any case, I thought that was the funniest. I thought that was probably the funniest.
It'd be awesome if I got a selfie. But then here's the thing: do you think he gave him the selfie? Because I think he gave him the selfie. I think when he came to him, washed his hands, gave the selfie.
Yeah,
because
he gave him.
I don't think he hates the celebrity the way you're saying.
Dude, he basically told him no twice, but he's not going to be super duper rude about it. But he's like, dude, okay, wrong place, wrong time, and I'm not in the mood to give selfies. And then he kept pressing him, and he's like, fine, I'll give you a selfie. Dude, you need to watch it. When was the last time you watched this? Because I literally watched it like an hour ago.
Yep, same.
In any case, guys, by the end of this show, the last scene, or one of the last scenes you'll see, is him leaving Kate's bow autographed. That's going to be the end scene. Because remember, she asked for his autograph on their bow.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's a total dick and recluse and just like says F you to people. No, he's a people pleaser. He doesn't want to be though.
He's a normal dude, but I don't think celebrities plaguing him the way that you make it seem. I think I think he would absolutely be happier with Hawkeye being
everybody,
member of the Avengers.
If you are watching this, comment down below who's right. Team Michael, who thinks, Hawkeye doesn't really want to be the center stage, doesn't want to be the attention, he doesn't like the fame. And Team Mitch, who thinks he's having a grand old time and he's just getting roses everywhere.
And Team Cole, where you guys are just arguing when saying the exact same thing.
In any case, all right, let's move on here. All right, so we get to this party. Kate shows up and then she goes underground, and there's an underground auction that a lot of people aren't aware of, and we're starting to see these characters develop. Jack, who is the Kate's soon-to-be stepfather. Oh, by the way, I had a problem with this whole thing, and this could just be a millennial thing or a generation thing, but this whole like dad stepping into the role and being like, oh, I got a book on how to be a stepdad and whatnot. I'm like, dude, she's 22 years old. She's basically out of college. She's an adult. She doesn't need a father. She doesn't need a mother. She's an adult now, self-sufficient. And, she should be on her own, and she should be, kind of making her own apartment and doing all that stuff. I'm like, okay, you don't go into somebody's life at 22 years age and say, I'm your new daddy.
I think that's part of the joke, to be honest. That like
that's what they're making
stepfather
the guy
thing,
out to be.
Yeah, she is an adult now. Self-sufficient? No, her mom pays for everything, but he definitely acts like, oh yeah, I read this in a book. This is what children do. When really, is she a child? No, very young adult, not a child. And her standoffishness with him doesn't really seem to stem from, you're dating my mom. No, it actually stems from what she saw at this black market auction.
She was already standoffish before that point. She already didn't.
She didn't know. She just didn't know about it.
I mean, sure, yeah. But in any case, so the auction happens, and then we get a bunch of what seems like Russian guys coming in, which is the which we end up finding out is the tracksuit mafia. The Tracksuit Mafia comes in.
That's a great rap group name.
Tracksuit Mafia. And then we see the walls blow out, and right before that they sold, they had a wide variety of things that they were starting to sell. I really wanted to see the actual auction, I really wanted to see the actual auction and see what other items they were selling, because they started off with a what was it, a triceratops skull, and then Hawkeye's sword, and then his suit. I'm like, okay, let's keep rolling here. I want to see this thing. But they were after some type of watch, which we don't know about yet. My guess, I have a guess for what it is, just a random throw out guess. I don't know any of the lore or anything like that, but I can get to that later on. Okay, I'll throw it out right now. And this could be influence. I actually just watched Spider-Man Far From Home. I know it's a long time. It was a long time ago, but I never really got around to it. And I was on a plane this past weekend, so I watched it, and I liked it. That can be a different review thing if anybody watching wants us to do a review of Far From Home. But in any case, it got me to thinking about this watch, and I think this watch has something to do with Edith. I think it was Tony Stark's watch. I think there's some super high tech in there. And it could be something to do with Edith and voice codes and stuff like that to take over the whole world or whatever. That's my guess.
That's a pretty good one. Yeah.
Yeah. But I already have that in my mind because I just watched Far From Home. So.
Tony shows in I think it's maybe Infinity War. Tony uses something to activate like a nano suit,
Iron Man suit.
It
could be that. Yeah, it could be that.
Was that from a watch? Do you remember? Was that from a watch?
It could have been a watch or a bracelet. I'm not sure exactly what it was from. But since we do know that it was found at the Avengers compound, it's probably just a conglomeration of a bunch of Avengers stuff that they were auctioning off. And maybe fragments of Mjolnir they were getting auctioned off. But
turns out it's just like a rare Rolex.
Yeah, fair enough. It's just a $12,000 Rolex, and they were just going in there for that. All right. So in any case, so that happens, and then the suit pops open. Well, first we know that Jack takes the sword, which whatever. He's just a collector. I don't know if he needs it for anything, but he takes the sword.
He's a shady character for sure.
He's what?
His uncle buys the sword.
Well, yeah, the uncle buys the sword,
but he's the one that grabs
it. He steals it.
Yeah,
which is probably the murder weapon, by the way.
Yes, definitely. So he probably he's like, "Hey, look, take a look at this. Take a look at the sword." Killed it.
Not sure
it's a lightsaber.
Just poke him through. Yeah. And then we see that Kate grabs the Ronin suit, and we do know from the Avengers movie, Ronin, for anyone who may not know who Ronin is the character that Hawkeye assumed during the blip. And because the blip and because all these basically governments and everything was breaking down, a mafia took over New York City, or at least as we are led to believe. And so Ronin, aka Hawkeye, went around slaying a lot of the mafia people so that, organized crime could come to an end.
He just
And
did that
in
around
the
world.
process,
it was around the world. It wasn't just.
it was around the world. Okay.
The first scene with him in
that's right. He was in like Tokyo
in Japan. Yeah. So
yeah.
he was just this, vigilante killing organized crime around the world and
taking his anger out on all evildoers, basically.
And then Kate Bishop adorns the suit, and we get our first fight scene with her. And if I do say so myself, a lot of her movements are very reminiscent of Black Widow movements with martial arts and things like that. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, she definitely. I mean, she had a few moves where she'd grab the over and kind of go.
Well, she had the jump leg thing where she's like choking him with her legs and then doing the flips. But of course, the most signature moves would be cracking wine bottles over the head over and over and over.
Yes. I will say she was a little clunky when she was doing her martial arts.
They incorporated some luck in that fight scene.
Yeah, they did.
I don't know, just random stuff falling and they're just kicking a bottle straight in the guy's forehead. But in any case, it was pretty cool.
I kind of like that, even though she's a martial artist, she didn't come out like super clean, super fresh. Because when you saw Hawkeye come out, like he handled those guys pretty easily and, did a lot of really clean movements and whatnot. She was a little bit more clunky, which I actually really liked. I feel like that added a lot to it because yes, she does do martial arts, but that's usually in controlled settings. But now she's in somewhere where her adrenaline's pumping and she's in a criminal rink and whatnot. So, maybe her movements aren't as smooth and as crisp as they otherwise normally would be because of the adrenaline and the nerves and whatnot. So I actually kind of liked that, she didn't just punch them once and they were out. It was a hit. I'm like, oh crap, that wasn't a good hit. Let me do it again. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so I kind of liked that part of it.
It was cool, the fight scenes, but at the same time, I'm like, these big guys can just grab a hold of her and hold on. And
and then you get Hawkeye, who's a lot smaller than the rest of them, and he just outpowers her. And I'm like, any one of those guys could have just outpowered her.
Yeah, but we're getting into the world of movie martial arts. Most movie martial arts are completely nonsense.
Yeah, that's a fair.
They just look cool.
Just gotta come to
terms In any case, this new Ronin now is caught on TV, which piques the interest of our protagonist, or one of our protagonists, Hawkeye, who sees it and then tracks her down, fights off a bunch of people, and now Hawkeye and Kate Bishop are kind of talking to each other, and he wants the suit, and she gives it to him. And then the house catches on fire because of the mafia. They both have to transport. She gets to safety. He goes back for the suit. Suit's not there. A LARPer took it. Did you guys get that whole LARPing thing? So just because there was a sticker on there, like was it malicious, or did someone go there and was like, oh, in this world, here, I'm just gonna grab it?
In this world, all this NY
firefighters,
this FDNY station and this NYPD station, they all like to do LARPing on the weekends. So he goes to the LARPing event where the lady that kind of gatekeeps him is like, hey, everybody here's a firefighter and a policeman. This is what they do. And he has to join into it to even get close enough to the guy in the suit to be able to try and take the suit back.
So I guess we're just overlooking the fact that the firefighters went into a scene that was obviously a criminal scene where the house was burnt down with Molotov cocktails. He saw a suit and was like, that would be really cool on the weekend, and just
stole it. Well,
they
addressed that. But to be honest, because this bugged me a little bit because of my own history and stuff. I mean, they also preface it with like, oh, these are all first responders. They come here to LARP because they don't really ever get to be the hero. You're like, oh, okay. So
I know. I wish
that was
like
their
Clint
very
said, you guys are heroes. What are you talking about?
That was the premise. You have to remember, in this world, NYPD took on the Chitauri at that same battle that we talked about earlier. They're in the streets firing at them with guns in the battle for New York. So it doesn't. It's nonsense to be like, oh, you're a superhero, man. I never get that opportunity. What are you talking about? How many of these movies have been supervillains in New York specifically?
It's a good point.
The
Honestly,
Spider-Man movies. Remember,
honestly,
Daredevil's in this universe. Everything
wide over my head.
Yeah,
I didn't even catch on to that part. If I'm being honest,
just silly.
Yeah. Anyway, so he does end up getting his suit back after a humiliating defeat in the Middle Earth.
Man, the fight scene though, where he's just tapping people in the chest, and then they're trying to get to him, and he's actually dodging and deflecting and coming back at them was very fun. Very fun.
Well, it was funny because they all came at him. I don't know if you guys saw this, but when they all came at him, there's like 4 of them around, and he did like the whole whip around thing.
Yeah,
he got hit like 12 times.
I think it's because it was in the armor. I think he had to get touched in the chest around the armor. But
is that what it was?
Yeah.
Well, they said that you get 1 touch, you get 1 free hit
in the torso. I know. Yeah. I thought about that too, and I was like, well, I guess he has the armor on. Maybe that's why. But yeah, he does the the Knight 360 blade spin thing.
Yeah. All right.
In case, so we got it.
Yeah, so we got it.
And obviously in this episode, a lot of the things that happened, and we didn't really have to talk about it because it was just character building, was meeting with Kate Bishop, going to her apartment. Remember, she has that dog now. Did the dog grab the watch? Because I didn't see if she grabbed the watch, but the dog was biting that guy for the watch.
I
had a feeling maybe the dog grabbed the watch.
He still has the watch. So he found the watch. The dog bit his leg, and then he kicked it away, and then she kicked him in the face. But the watch, I didn't see anybody grab the watch. The watch stayed there.
I expect that they're gonna reveal later that the dog had snatched the watch. That's what I expect.
Gotcha.
She didn't.
I didn't see that part. No, she did.
Like maybe the dog ate it and he pooped it out.
Yeah, that maybe that happens. But she feeds this dog pizza, and only pizza apparently. And then that went into the end of the episode where he gives her his phone number for emergencies only, and she's like, "Oh, okay, cool. Talk to you tomorrow." He's like, no, no,
you won't. One quick before we leave that LARPing scene, one of the funniest, but the second funniest line that I found in the whole thing was he's like, "Hey, dude, let me kill you," and he goes under his breath, "I fought Thanos."
Yeah.
Then the second one that I know you're about to name is when they're one-on-one and the guy in the background's making the clanging noises.
Oh, that was pretty funny too. Yeah. But yeah, so then he gets back to the locker. He hides the suit inside the locker. And then he says he's going to go do a catch and release, and he calls his wife, who knows about everything that's going on.
And knows about Ronan. By the way, that's important too. She knows about Ronan.
She does know about Ronan, yes.
Yeah.
The kids do not. And that led me to, I literally wrote down. So after he's like, so what's the plan? I'm going to do a catch and release. She's like, oh, okay, that sounds good. And blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like thinking to myself, like, fucking best wife ever. Like I literally wrote down best wife ever. She's just completely chill with him doing all this crazy, like dangerous stuff. And she's just like, oh yeah, no, I get it. I'm in it. Let's go.
She understands the life.
I'm like, dude, she can pick up the mantle and become the next Avenger.
Hawkeye.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't usually classify him as an Avenger, but I guess technically is an Avenger.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. He's one of the constants.
So the next scene after that, we have the dinner scene between Jack and Kate and the mom Eleanor, and then Kate and Jack kind of get into it, and then they start fencing each other, and Jack's holding back, man. Jack's holding back. He's lying. He's lying about something, and she knows it. So that whole scene comes, and then
we learn that she has access to a top-notch security firm software.
Her mom owns a security company, and so she has access to all that information,
including being able to track people's phone numbers.
Anyone's phone number, evidently. So she tracks Hawkeye
after he gives himself up to the Tracksuit Mafia.
Yep. And then she breaks in, everything happens, and then it seems at the end of the episode they are SOL because they are tied to chairs, and everything was going according to plan until kind of she fell through the ceiling.
At some point, she had the opportunity to design her own Hawkeye costume.
Oh, she did. You're right.
She falls. She falls into the building in Hawkeye costume.
In the purple.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
And then they are tied to but yeah, one thing I did think on a con note for these 2 episodes is they gave some kind of like one-liners to the Russian mafia, to the tracksuit mafia. I didn't really care for it. I don't think they weren't good enough one-liners to actually like elicit a laugh from me. Like they
were trying to be funny.
They were trying to be funny.
Oh, dude, I found her.
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of forced, and like, what's up with them saying, "Bro"?
I mean, they obviously come off as idiots, and they're supposed to come off as idiots. I've really enjoyed these first 2 episodes because Hawkeye has a very unique dynamic. You know, they put him in a situation like this tracksuit mafia thing, right? They're all armed, he's outnumbered, and yes, he's a great fighter, but he's just human. So he doesn't have the scene what we would expect Captain America have, where he breaks from the chains and all of a sudden it's one man taking down 20. He just undoes his cuffs and goes, "Hey, whoa. I just like to talk with your manager. Can you just get your manager?" And he's very much trying to appease to them and not get involved in combat. Now, you know, could he take all of them? Probably, but I think
he's Hawkeye.
I think they make it out to be at the very least like it's not going to be easy. I mean, he sustains injuries in the brief encounter he has with the tracksuit mafia when they're attacking Kate Bishop. Yeah. She does too. They are both just humans. And then while he's, you know, we've seen already with him as Ronin being able to fight through an entire, you know, base of Yakuza or whatever and kill them all. But he doesn't appear to be armed with anything here. So do we, you know, is he in honest danger? Yeah, he's in honest danger. He doesn't have weapons. He's trying to just appease them and take it slow.
Yeah,
but he's completely level-headed and calm the entire time, which is cool.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it. There's a little bit more uncertainty in this than there would be if this was Thor. If this was Thor, there's no need for anything.
I'm not
he's
scared
just
for
going to
him
bowl through all of them. With Hawkeye, you're like, okay, he's going to actually be a little more cautious here because he can get shot. It actually hurts and kills him, you know?
Yeah. No, 100% agree. And what, you know, and honestly, leading into this series, I am kind of digging this more than maybe even the first couple episodes of Captain America or Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because of those stakes. You know that nothing's gonna happen to because they're all like flying and they all have, you know, military artillery, and you know they have billions of dollars of tech on them and whatnot. Hawkeye's just a dude, so there are actual stakes. It seems like there's actual stakes in this TV series.
He's like Jason Bourne. But like, you know, they touch on his mortality more so throughout these 2 episodes, with him being an expert with first aid, showing her the correct way to clean her wounds, and again the hearing aid showing another he's invaluable.
And honestly, I feel like I am really digging the character of Hawkeye, and Kate for that matter. But I'm really digging the character of Hawkeye because I was thinking about this while it was happening. I'm like, you know what? The most interesting thing about Thor is that he's from Asgard, he can fly, and he has his hammer, right? The most interesting thing about really even Captain America is that he's super strong and has a shield. But I feel like the most interesting thing about Hawkeye is not necessarily that he's a really good crack shot. He's an interesting character. Like he doesn't necessarily want the fame. He just wants to be left alone. Things are happening around him, and he's just an interesting character. He's real. He's down to earth. He's grounded. He is an amazing fighter, but he's not going to go and flaunt it everywhere. And like, I don't know. I really like the character of Hawkeye and what they're doing, especially in the events after all of the Avengers and the Thanos and everything that he's done and has gone through, the way they did PTSD with Black Widow, with him at the very beginning of the series, I feel like was so much better done than for example, Iron Man 3 or something like that.
Yeah, that was terrible for the PTSD they had in that. You're right.
Yeah,
No, I
it was
agree.
just
This was a better representation. I think that I agree with you about Hawkeye being interesting because he didn't have his own movie. So they've built him up in the shared Avengers movies, and they've given him a surprising amount of depth. More depth, I would argue, than Black Widow. I mean, they do. They have the scene where his family is revealed during, I believe, Age of Ultron. And, it's like a big reveal about Clint. And you find out that his girlfriend, it's his girlfriend, not wife, that he has kids with her. And you find out that, she knows about who he is, and for him being a long-standing member of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is his introduction to the Avengers. The other four, the main four, big four, were all recruited because of their abilities. He was kind of the S.H.I.E.L.D. liaison that was already an operative, already a special agent that joins into the Avengers, right? And he's always been that outsider. He has, and it's pretty clear because he doesn't really.
And Black Widow, which is why they were tied together.
But the big difference is Black Widow develops a relationship with the other Avengers, and Hawkeye's relationship is with Black Widow. And throughout all the movies, you don't, he has conversations with other Avengers, but really you don't get the, oh, he's a friend of ours feeling. It's very much his connection with Black Widow. And I like that going into this series, we know a little bit about him because they fleshed him out, but it feels like they're pulling the curtain back now. Like, oh, okay. Remember that he's a disposable character. He is a disposable character. He's the human, and he's the least popular of the Avengers. They even address it in this show. That's why they throw away his whole family during the blip. They kill his whole family, girlfriend, his kids, everything. Gone for 5 years. He thinks they're gone permanently. Throughout the Avengers movies, he's one of the few characters that gets a dedicated arc because we know he doesn't have his own movie and it's not being covered outside of that. He's one of the few ones that, hey, they introduced the family being gone, the turn into darkness and depression and into becoming Ronin, and then the restoration of that, the sacrifice of his best friend, giving her life for the opportunity for him to see his kids again. So although we may not have focused on it in the past movies because he's not the star of the show, you kind of realize now that he's given the spotlight of, hey, we actually know a lot about this character and don't know much about the character. And it's kind of a sneaky way to be like, oh, we actually care about this character. Like maybe I didn't think that we cared about Hawkeye before this show started, but seeing him with his kids in New York and the scene of the musical, you're right. It had a surprisingly strong emotional attachment from me anyways, of like, oh yeah, I can see how this would be rough. I mean, if I put myself in Hawkeye's position right now and my best friend, who is my partner on missions, who has saved my life and I've saved her life, who I fought to try to kill myself to save the world for her. She beat me in a fight and then killed herself to give me a second chance with my kids. And then, him getting that, like, is it disrespectful? Is it not disrespectful that they're doing this musical about it? Because it's definitely paid an homage, but he's sitting there watching it and seeing his best friend being portrayed, and it's bringing back nothing but trauma for him, which playing into the PTSD thing that you had brought up, Michael. I mean, I know that in that moment, in the very opening scene, I felt, or at least I feel like I felt what the character of Hawkeye was feeling, and it was relatable. And I think maybe that's the great strength about this show and this character, is that in the face of gods and super geniuses and super soldiers and atomic monsters, maybe Hawkeye's
billionaires.
Maybe Hawkeye is the character that's most relatable to the audience. So
for sure. Yeah. And plus, love the actor who plays him too, so that's
Yeah,
why
it's a good
it's
actor,
also
too.
super
Yeah.
intriguing. Something
And
that I
Mitch-
just thought of
Oh god.
during this thing. You guys all saw Black Widow, right?
Yeah.
The movie. The
Mhm.
end credit scene with
Mhm.
Elaine
Mhm.
Dreyfus.
Yeah.
That actor, basically trying to hire Black Widow's sister to kill Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is something to definitely
we
look
may
out
see
for.
something. We may see
Conspiracy.
Yeah,
something.
that's true.
Mhm.
I don't think that was a coincidence in the timing of the release of Black
No,
Widow and Hawkeye.
Of course not. Yeah.
Yeah, and Mitch, just to play off what you were saying, just because you're in retrospection and reflection of these two episodes that I've watched, I think you hit it really on the head. Is that I until I watched these two episodes, Hawkeye was kind of just a throwaway character for me. Like
Disposable,
you're absolutely right. Like I mean, we knew enough about him. Everything about his character is inside the show, and whatnot. And now that I've watched these two episodes, like you think to yourself, and at least for me, he's probably the most interesting character. Like as far as development goes. Like I didn't know you said it, but like you're absolutely right. I didn't know I cared about Hawkeye until this.
Yeah.
I didn't know, like, because he's absolutely relatable, and he it's just so it's so funny because again, who is Thor outside of his thunder and lightning? I mean, we don't know. I mean, he lives on a fantastical world, and that's the Thor character.
He's a goofball.
Even to some extent.
He's a complete goofball.
Yeah, he's a goofball. Yeah, but like there's not really any development for him outside. And like even Steve Rogers, right? The thing that defines Steve Rogers is his ability to be strong and be heroic and be integrous.
And his patriotism. His patriotism.
But it seems like the thing that defines Hawkeye is his family, is his connections, is his people building, is his human part of him is what defines him. And him being able to put an arrow into a quarter a mile away, yeah, that's his like special ability. That's how he's useful. But he himself,
just a dude,
is a dude, you know? And so I think you're absolutely right. I didn't know that I cared about Hawkeye, or I didn't really give him much thought before I watched these first couple of episodes. And I'm like, dude, I really like Hawkeye. I really like the character Hawkeye.
I agree.
I like that he's a family man. I like that, you know, you're right. He's been through these trials and tribulations. His family blipped out of his life, and he scoured the world and killed a bunch of people for 5 years because of it. And that's an interesting story for the character. And it wasn't even Hawkeye. He assumed a new character, Ronin, in order to do that.
Yeah.
So he's got a bunch of dimensions to him. And I just think it's, until you pointed it out just now, you're right. I didn't know I cared about Hawkeye until I watched the show.
Now, Tony Stark. I was gonna say Tony Hawk because Hawkeye. No, that's Tony Hawk's not in this movie. No. Tony Stark. Realistically, like you look at Endgame and you look at his sacrifice, right? He gives his life for his family.
Sure.
That's the easier situation for us all as the audience to accept. Yeah, he's a hero. He gave his life for his family. The horror of his family was taken from him and he's all that's left. What Hawkeye went through is the most tragic story in any of these Avengers movies.
Yeah.
And we have a character now that you remember, they are all the same age that they were when they blipped out of existence. He is 5 years older. He experienced for 5 years his life without his kids, all of them dead. His wife or girlfriend, fiance, whoever she is, dead. His whole life ripped from him. No reason to live at all. As a father of multiple girls, and no reason to live at all. So
and that's why he roamed the earth and just killed a bunch of people.
Yes, and as a character, I think he has one of the most interesting arcs out of any of the characters in any of these Avengers movies.
Which is so funny because again, he doesn't have a dedicated movie.
Yep.
Everything we know about Hawkeye comes from an Avengers movie.
Yes.
Like which is crazy to think about. Hawkeye does not exist outside of the Avengers universe.
Yep.
Which is really interesting. But now
Except for Thor, a little bit in Thor.
Yeah.
Thor, he's like watching Thor the whole time, saying, "Should I take the shot? Should I take the shot?" when he's trying to
and he had a little bit. He had a little bit in Captain America: Winter Soldier, which I would still argue is an Avengers movie.
Yeah,
or Captain America: Civil War, rather.
He's
Civil
fleshed
War,
out through other people's movies or group movies. That's it.
Yeah. But yeah. In any case, all right. I think I think it's fair to say we're liking the show so far.
Yeah.
Indeed.
But yeah, Mitch, let's hear your what are you giving this guy 1 out of 10?
First
2 episodes.
I'm gonna give it like an 8.8. I like it. It's high. It's not quite the 9 out of 10. It's not quite at in the first 2 episodes, at least. It hasn't quite made the pivotal, impactful moments that something like Midnight Mass made towards the season finale of one of the last shows that we reviewed. But it's off to a great start. I love the mix of comedy and seriousness. I love the tone of this show. The tone of this show, it's going to deal with heavy themes, but it doesn't stay heavy long enough to become depressing. They're fluid with how they move through action, what they move through comedy, and they can keep a light tone while dealing with serious themes, and I really appreciate that. It makes it fun and easy to watch. So for what I've seen, I love the start of it. Like I said, I'm trying to give more than just the 9 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 like I always do. I think it's a high 8, so I'm going to give it an 8.8. Cool.
Good. All right, Kolsif.
Yeah, I'll give it a 8.0. Yeah, like you said, Mitch, I like the tone of it. It's an interesting setting too, because it's 6 days till Christmas.
Christmas time, baby. Perfect.
He made a promise to his daughter saying he'll be home for Christmas. So I like to think So I like to think the season is within these 6 days, and because Hawkeye right now is just trying to get back to his family, wants to be done with this stuff.
It probably is. You're
put
probably
it all
right.
to bed, and just go home already. But
6 episodes, 6 days.
These Russians are getting in his way. So that's an interesting dynamic. And again, back to his retirement or whatever it is. But yeah, I like the comedy in it, the character development. I would have liked to see more Hawkeye awesomeness opposed to Katie awesomeness. Just because, yeah, I've always liked Hawkeye.
Yeah,
Kate.
I think they might be turning.
Solid B for me.
Fair enough. I think they might be turning Hawkeye. It seems like this show, now that you mentioned that, Cole, because Hawkeye didn't have a bunch of fighting in this movie or in the show, I think they might be going the Steve Rogers route with him, maybe, perhaps, where he is almost legendary, so he doesn't do a ton of fighting. Like, it's already just assumed that he's amazing and he doesn't really need to do a lot of that. But I am excited. Hopefully he does, some stuff getting outside. Yeah, we haven't even seen Hawkeye shoot an arrow yet, which is if you're it's I don't think about these things because of the show. Right? Because I'm in the world of the show where I'm accepting the fact that Jeremy Renner is just this amazing martial artist and amazing stuff. But if you would have told me before I watched this show, hey, Hawkeye has his own show and he's not even going to shoot an arrow in the first 2 episodes, I'd be like, then why am I watching?
I think we have to take this in perspective of what it is. The era of the original 4, the Hulk, the original team of the Avengers, right? The Hulk, the Thor, Captain America, Iron Man, it's over. And Marvel is moving on to what they want their all-new Avengers to be. We saw with Loki, they seem to be keeping Loki intact, and they used that show to introduce probably the next Thanos-level villain. With WandaVision, there's a little bit of promise that carries forward into something more. But Wanda was kind of a secondary character. Now they're kind of making her a primary character. We didn't do a review on it, but we know this also from Marvel What If, which is the animated series that came out not too long ago, where Wanda, her character is seen as the most powerful of characters in one of the episodes, specifically the zombie episode. And that's building into kind of what's her future role in the series. And there's a lot of things happening in the background right now. There might be a new new Captain Marvel now. I mean, there's a lot of things that are working in the background with Marvel, but I think it's safe to say that this show is probably primarily focused around the introduction of Kate Bishop and the fading out of Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye character.
Because the show's called Hawkeye, not Clint.
Yeah, and I have a feeling that's the direction we're going. And I think we all kind of understand that. It's already been very publicly said that like the next Thor movie is the last movie with Chris Hemsworth as Thor. In fact, they've already told us that they're gonna do the female Thor with Natalie Portman. I mean, all these things have been made announcements or have been announced before the shows have even been released. So as an audience watching this, we kind of have an idea of the direction of this. It's really about hoping that the show and the movies that follow execute well on giving this character a deserving and fitting end to his arc, and introducing a character in a way that's interesting and still keeps the story moving forward. And I can say from the first 2 episodes,
I mean, that's their
it
goal for
seems
all
to
of
be
them.
nailing it so far, for me at least.
All right. Well, I'll finish up my review if you're done talking during my review.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm just kidding.
But yeah, so quality wise, I'm very invested in the show. I actually really like it so far. I've these first 2 episodes summed up together. I would give it a range between 8.5 and 9. I'm going to give it a 9 because they're making me care about Hawkeye, which, before I started watching this was not an interesting character to me. And then it's been pointed out to me, wait, hold on, he's probably the most interesting character.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, wait, you are right. So I'm going to give it a 9. I think it's cool that they were able to generate that interest and take that angle. And Jeremy Renner is just doing an amazing job. Like, I really like his character. I like the writing. I think it's very well done so far.
I agree.
All right.
Anyway, guys, if you made it to this end, congratulations. We are at 51 minutes, and you basically just watched another full episode of Hawkeye. And if you like what you heard, please like, subscribe, comment down below. We are going to be coming out with these every single week, with the exception of 1 week because we have scheduling conflicts. But we're going to be coming out with these every single week for the upcoming future until the termination of this series. And go ahead, Mitch.
Oh no, we are good. We've scheduled it out. It will stay timely. There's going to be 1 week where we have to skip and make up with a double episode, but you will find our review on the finale out the day after the finale. We're going to stay very timely with this.
Absolutely. So when this comes out, when the show comes out, we will come out. Anyway, if you liked what you heard, please let us know and subscribe down below. I think we have 3 or 4 times the number of videos than we do subscribers, so we really like to turn around the other way. Anyway,
it's all about putting in the work. Build it and they will come, Michael. Build it and they will come.
That's right. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. As always, this is Michael.
This is Mitch.
This is Cole.
And be on the lookout next week for our next episodes. Live long and may the force be with you.
Later, guys.